Alcoholism, a frequently used term, and chances are that we have used it to describe someone who we think is an alcoholic. But what is alcoholism?
Alcoholism is what we call alcohol dependency, and it has four different characteristics. And the first one is a craving, which is a strong urge to drink. You know, it's something that you cannot control. You just feel you need to drink, you need to drink. And the other one is loss of control, where once you start drinking, you can't stop. So most alcoholics will walk into the bar and say, I'm having 2 beers. But after the 2 beers, then you have the 5th, and then you have the 9th, and you just continue like that until you can take no more. The other one is now the alcohol dependency, which is a physical dependency, where your body now becomes accustomed to having alcohol in the system. And when you don't have alcohol in the system, you get what we call withdrawals, which is shaking and vomiting and itching, and you can't sleep, you're always hallucinating and stuff like that. And finally is what we call tolerance. And tolerance is where you need more to get to the same high as before.
Alcoholism is a chronic disorder that can last a person's lifetime, and it usually follows a predictable course, and the risk of developing alcoholism is influenced both by a person's genes and by their lifestyles.
There's what we call nature and there's nurture. Nature means that some people are the gene that predisposes them to becoming alcoholics. If you look around you, there are those families that people always talk about. That's a family of levies. Everybody is drunk in that home. So there's that, there's the genetic, and then of course there's the nurture, which means that the environment you live with, the people you hang out with, and some jobs as well. There's some jobs that actually create addicts.
According to NACADA, the body formed to enhance advocacy against drug abuse, 13% of Kenyans are abusing alcohol. And Amalia Mbogwa, a counsellor with East Bridge Rehabilitation Center, says more and more younger persons are getting lured into alcoholism.
We have reached that level where we also keep alcohol in our houses. So it's the norm. And you know, every evening you come from work, you have a glass of wine, you know, to unwind, and your husband or whatever has a bottle or a glass of whiskey or a bottle of beer. So that shows our children that it's okay to use.
But what are the symptoms of alcoholism?
You change friends because now you don't want to hang out with people who can drink normally, social drinkers who can have 2 bottles and leave. You want to be with people who drink like you, so that you can all leave at 2 o'clock or whatever and call each other in the morning and say, how did we get home? And nobody knows. You also start to, you know, neglect the responsibilities that you have. You neglect, if you're married, you neglect your family. If you're working, you don't go to work, you know, the way you're supposed to go to work.
James Mwadhi knows all too well how alcohol can deteriorate one's life. For 15 years, Mwadhi was a slave to alcohol.
I started drinking when I was around 15 years. 15 years in high school.
Out of curiosity and peer pressure, Mwadhi then got hooked to alcohol, and this soon landed him in trouble.
My first suspension was in Form 2, so that's 16 years. Although that time you kata, you say, no, what happened, it's my friends who are drinking, it's what. But they had a clue. My dad was like, you're drinking in school. My mom was like, let's give him the benefit of doubt.
And he maintained this lifestyle to university, where he missed classes and examinations simply because he was intoxicated. He even lost jobs because of his addiction to alcohol. Mwadhi confides in me that he let his parents down on several occasions by not listening to them and even stealing money from them to sustain his drinking habit.
I lost my job, moved back home, so I'm staying with my parents, and I'm feeling their trust is lost. They can't trust you, they don't give you because you've taken them through hell. They have given you money, go and pay electricity, you've drank it, go and do this, you've drank it.
But deep within, Mwadhi knew he wanted to quit, to get better. He wanted to become a sober.
Deep down, you know you need help. but admitting it is a bit tricky. Because remember, you want to look like a man. You don't want to admit that you're unable to control.
Once a person accepts that they are an alcoholic, that is when the rehabilitation process begins. You now know what alcoholism is, and by now you know some of the traits alcoholics portray. Now, next week, I will be telling you more on rehabilitation. This is usually the step taken after alcoholics admit that they do have a problem. So I will be telling you more about rehabilitation, what exactly happens at a rehabilitation center, and we will be talking to Mwathi. He'll be telling us how he has been able to move on from alcoholism and how his journey has been at a rehabilitation center. Join me then. I am Kiriko Ngarwa for Citizen Weekends.